Greetings everyone. Uh, Happy to meet you again on another video. In the series so far, we've been discussing on the perspective subject of the universe research done on rmonlife.com. So the primary purpose of this entire series is to share the knowledge that I've gained from the research that I've been doing with rmonlife.com. Uh, in this video, taking a slight deviation from the trend of videos where I just read through the article and share my perspective, through which I tend to share the knowledge that I've gained. In this video, what I'm going to do is mainly focus on uh, you know uh, certain aspects uh, that are practically in science currently and correlate with the research topic. So first, let's take off and ask the first question. We see flights fly, right? And we don't see it fly. We see it fly so high. Why can't a flight fly even further into a space, into the space? It's not at all a possibility. That is a fact. That is a fact that is already there. And people who are in the field very much know the underlying explanation. It's pretty straightforward to them. But uh, you know from the theory from of science and the law from which the flight is built is not the same explanation that is given in terms of why the flight cannot go beyond certain height and it cannot reach space. And the whole science used in rocket is completely different. So the underlying factor here is that when a flight takes off, right, when it takes off, what it does is it reaches a certain speed with the help of the air that's coming in towards it, right? It just it just tilts its flaps in a certain degree so that the flight takes off. And this manipulation of air and wind plays a huge role. This aerodynamics plays a huge role in how flights fly. And as the flight goes beyond certain latitude, the presence of thick molecules that supports as a friction, as a thickness in the air for the flight to manipulate the air and gain altitude cannot be done anymore on higher altitudes, where burning fuel and creating thrust plays a even huge role, and the presence of gravity becomes even more stronger over there, and the flight truly needs to you know fight the gravity. And if you see, the propellers are not made to fight gravity, rather than it's made to manipulate with air. And this is the fundamentals of flight. And if you go into rocket, right, a rocket is completely built to fight the gravity pull that's that's been applied on it, and it reaches a certain velocity to free itself from the bounds of Earth's inner gravity. Uh, but the point here is that uh, they say that certain escape velocity is required for a rocket to escape Earth's gravity. And if you see in any trajectory of a rocket, right, uh, that escape velocity after a certain point is not necessary, and the rocket is actually escaped, and that is exactly why they call it the escape velocity. And this escape velocity's uh, you know speed that is required is nearly 42,000 kilometers per hour. When the flight, when the rocket takes off, right, you don't see that uh, you know uh, speed being gained over there. And that speed is not is what is happening over there. What happens is, uh, uh, it just creates enough thrust to take off enough fuel with it to burn it as it goes higher. It's just the bare minimum for it to take off, and it keeps going. It burns even thrusts where against a flight it's consistently thrusting itself against the gravity, and it gains height, and it keeps going higher. And after a certain height, right, what happens is the escape velocity required in the ground is relatively lower on on the upper part of the sky. And here we mount specifically just with gravity, but in reality it's not just the gravity, the air that is like, just like you know the resistance, the weight of the air on top of the atmosphere pushing down on the rocket becomes lesser as it gains height. So for it to, you know tear through the air becomes easier as it gains height, where it would be even burning the same amount of thrust over there, where it gains almost an equal to the value of velocity, but it never actually crosses the velocity, but it goes over and out of the Earth's field. Now let's take this uh, into the correlation aspect of it, right? Where uh, now you see, uh, in science, we're just talking about gravity here, but the point is, you know when we are talking about planetary science, it's important to understand that uh, you know how gravity works on a planetary scale, and that's where even science itself has its own different layers of definition when it comes to gravity field. It's defined a bit different when it's on the Earth's surface, and it's defined a bit different in Einstein's theory. Uh, but the point is that a simpler way to understand this from ourmonlife.com research is that um, as the Earth rotates, its rotating energy comes from its core rotating axis at the center of the planet, and its rotation is transferred, that energy is transferred onto the planet's entirety, and this transfer happens through all the elements that are on the Earth's crust, mantle, and the core. And these elements, right, if you see, none of the elements within the mantle interact with each other. If you'd see, you'd never see water mixed with oil. You don't see, just because oil exists for thousands of years on the surface of the planet, you never see both mixed together and completely lose its property. No, it stays its own place. This stays in its own place. So the 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 amount of rotation that happens, and the energy is like transferred to the upper surface, and this rotation, right, is kept in place from all directions by the universe gravity. And this pressure, these both pressures, right, this rotational energies pressure and the universe gravity pressure from all the directions creates is met where the planet's protective field is there. According to our research, if you see the protective field, and in that particular section, right, this protective field is where the pressure transfers. Just to reach that point is where we are trying to put in all these effort. And the whole aspect of science completely shifts once we go beyond Earth's field of gravitational activity, and there we place the object, that is satellite, here in orbit, the orbit that we want it to be in. And what happens there is, um, when we try to explain all these elements, right, what we go into is, we don't put it in simpler formats. We call like factors like the space doesn't have air, but I would like to contradict there, rather like explore a bit more, saying that you know uh, a artificial satellite is always placed in the direction of the planet's rotation. if there isn't an air that's created, the force of air that is created from the planets acting on the planet's outer uh, you know circular section, then there isn't uh, nothing stopping from the satellite to rotate on the opposite direction, right? It could always, instead of going in the same direction of the planet's rotation, it could take a retrograde, but that again requires quite the amount of effort if you see into the field. And there is another phenomenon here as well. If the orbit of a you know satellite needs to increase in height, you know what they do? They thrust the uh, you know uh, the satellite in a certain speed. What happens is it gains more height, and this clearly shows, right, like each and every height has its own wind speed, where like when you gain speed, you're not in the right speed of the air around you, so you naturally are put into that space. It's not the satellite that's being driven to that height. It's just the moment you give the thrust, you are placed in such a height. Another factor here is when you are placed in such a height, right, you would expect that the speed of the uh, satellite doesn't change much, but actually the speed of the satellite changes even more. What happens is the speed slows down even after giving so much thrust. Naturally, when there is no air or force around you to stop you, the speed should have slowed down, but it doesn't happen. What happens on contrary is the speed should have not slowed down, the speed should have speeden up, but instead of that, the speed actually slows down. The reason is uh, the the closer you are to the planet, the closer the faster is going to be its rotational force, right? As you go farther away, the influence of the rotational force exerted is going to be lesser, and the wind's force is going to be much lesser. I call it wind over here. Just we are like defining wind based on our experience on our planet, right? It's just like whatever experience we have, we just call it as wind. Just because the particles are bigger and you could just feel it doesn't mean that you can't feel it or you can't define it in the certain way that you have defined it on the planet. It doesn't mean there isn't wind on the upper surface of the planet. It's in a different kind of a you know explainable uh, part, like where we are seeing it in these sort of outcomes. This sort of perspective shift is very important in understanding a planet in a planetary science, so that we have a more simplified concept and an easier way of understanding a planet's nature. This becomes very important at this junction, uh, as uh, you know uh, if we are to create a living condition on another planet, it is not that we could use the same scientific models that we have constructed on a planet that is Earth, which has its own natural structure. So whatever applies within the planet Earth can only apply within planet Earth. If you just take the scientific models of that has been developed for the planet Earth and you bring it to a neighboring planet, something like Moon, and try utilizing it over there, it wouldn't uh, help you much, as its fundamental nature is going to be on a different scale. And that is exactly what our moon life research is about, where we explore on the aspects of um, uh, the natural structure of the moon. And so these fundamental structures, right, play closely around the nature of the soil, the air, the water, space, and heat. These are the five fundamental elements which we use to define these core structures of a planet, and in understanding its nature and such, on top of which the scientific model comes in. So when we are talking about a scientific model for a planet like moon, it would be catered to that uh, part of the planet, similar to how the same technology of you know a flight cannot apply for a rocket. Similarly, the same technology of a rocket cannot be applied for the moon to create a living condition over there. And it's almost time that we get back to our neighboring planet. uh, it's it's like Apollo 17 on December 14th, 1972 left moon for the last time. Humans finally stepped on the moon and came back to Earth. And today on 29th August 2020, it's been around 47 years, 8 months, and 15 days since we've been on the moon. And I think it's about time we go back there, not just to do some research experiment, but uh, create a living condition for ourselves, and explore on the true nature of the planet even further. Give ourselves a better chance at exploring the moon with the given technology that we have in our planet currently. And I hope to the humanity would join together sometime in future, and that is part of one of our most core aspects of our research work at harmoonlife.com. And our researches are in three major categories currently, with moon research, universe research, and earth research. Please do share your support in terms of subscribing to the channel, and sharing your thoughts in the video. That would mean a lot to us. I'd come back with better knowledge in terms of our research work, relevance to our research work. What I just tried explaining here is like taking the practical aspect of elements that are currently on Earth, and try relating it with the nature of our research, and bringing out the perspective of what needs to shift. And there are even detailed aspects where we could explore even further, and I hope to do it in the coming future. Thanks a lot for the opportunity and your time. Good day.
Bob, this is Gene, and I'm on the surface, and take me his last step from the surface back home for some time to come, but we believe not too long into the future. I'd like to just let what I believe history will record, that America's challenge of today has forged man's destiny of tomorrow. And as we leave the moon in Taurus literal, we leave as we came, and God willing, as we shall return, with peace and hope for all mankind. Godspeed to crew of Apollo 17.